Marcus supported Chloe. She was fresh, delicate, and uninhibited in bed, giving him experiences H never had. He reminded Chloe to take her birth control. Chloe playfully flirted, joking that she wanted to have his baby. Marcus sternly warned her that if she got pregnant, H'd make her get an abortion and end things. He only permitted his wife to bear his children. It sounded quite affectionate, so I told him, I'm pregnant, but he fell silent because we hadn't had marital relations for 5 years. I cheated. I thought Marcus would calmly ask if I enjoyed it. Instead, he furrowed his brow slightly, staring at me for a long moment without speaking. Don't you believe me? Oh, right. It already lied to him 5 years ago. Back then, I was filled with hatred, but at the last moment, I snapped back to my senses. Debasing myself to get revenge on him wasn't worth it, so I pushed away Alex, Marcus's good friend, and got out of bed, but I still maliciously covered my body with marks and told him it cheated, demanding a divorce. Marcus's eyes instantly reddened, but that was the extent of it. The moment I found out about his affair, my calm and elegant demeanor shattered. Respiratory alkalosis left me breathless. My fingers stiffened into claw-like shapes. I thought I was dying. Marcus calmly found a plastic bag to help me regulate my breathing, calmly explained, and calmly made promises. Grace, we've been married for 5 years. I'm a normal man. I get tired of the same old thing every day. My work pressure is immense. Sometimes I want to release negative emotions, but you're my wife, and I must respect you. Apart from physical fidelity, I can give you everything you want. I gazed at him through tear-filled eyes, wanting to ask one question. Do you still love me? But I didn't say a word. H'd already cheated. Whether he loved me or not no longer mattered. I washed my face, determined to get a divorce. Marcus wasn't surprised. He advised me to calm down and think things through carefully. Yes, after I discovered his affair, he remained composed and handled it with ease. Even after I slapped him with all my strength, he still looked at me with calm eyes, as if watching a child throwing a tantrum. When I raised my arm again, he firmly caught it. The disparity in strength between us meant I couldn't break free. Instead, he held me tightly in his embrace. The embrace that once brought me warmth now sent a chill deep into my bones. He advised me, my parents advised me, even my best friend advised me. Yes, in the eyes of others, including my parents, I was no longer a suitable match for Marcus at that time, simply because I had gotten in on the ground floor and stuck by him during his toughest startup days. It was like a venture capital investment. I had made a huge profit, he achieved success and fame, and I reaped the rewards. Divorce meant the sunk costs are too high, and it'd be ridiculed. A lie repeated often enough becomes the truth. At that time, I hesitated. To appease me, Marcus indeed went to great lengths. Gifts poured in for me. Besides jewelry, he gave me a yacht and an island. The island was equipped with a pool villa and a butler. He even took half a month off to accompany me on the yacht to the island for a vacation. We watched sunrises over the ocean and tasted freshly caught, plump tuna. We walked on the beach, admiring the magnificent sunsets. His attitude towards me was even more considerate than when we first started dating. I seemed to have been placated a little, until late at night. Marcus, fresh from a shower, his warm body still carrying the damp scent of steam, embraced me from behind. My mind uncontrollably flashed back to the chat logs on his phone. Chloe's flirty messages and life updates went unanswered by him, but she had asked him to pick out flirty lingerie styles. He had replied, even if it was just one word. My heart felt clenched by a sharp claw, tightening inch by inch. Do you kiss her when you sleep with her? I asked coldly, and Marcus's hand on my waist stiffened. I yanked his hand away and rushed into the bathroom. The exquisite and delicious dinner ultimately turned into disgusting vomit in the toilet. Our half-month trip ended in 2 days afterward. I became like a detective, stubbornly searching his clothes for clues and traces. There was no lipstick stain on his shirt, no perfume scent. Spotlessly clean, I found nothing. But after another one of his late nights, the increasingly taut string finally snapped. After my hysterical outburst, he started giving me the cold shoulder. When I realized I was becoming a resentful woman, I panicked. Even more ironically, I discovered I was pregnant. This should have been a huge surprise. I wanted a baby, but I just couldn't conceive. I went to the hospital for checks. My body was fine, his body was fine, but nothing worked. IVF was discussed. It had hundreds of injections and suffered a lot. After discovering his affair, my emotional state was so poor that I even experienced some bleeding, but I didn't care. I hadn't expected that by the time this long-awaited little life arrived, I no longer desired it. I didn't tell Marcus. I went to the hospital alone and had an abortion. But when I woke up, I felt a profound emptiness, like my soul had been drained. That's when Marcus appeared. His face was pale, his eyes full of disappointment. Grace, is this your revenge on me? But the baby is innocent. That's why I couldn't let it come into this world. How pitiful for a baby not to live in love, Marcus. Let's get a divorce. I repeated the sentence numbly. No, no divorce. He was even more resolute than I was. 5 years passed. Now, we were strangers. Marcus had also changed the woman by his side. I heard his new girlfriend was from a dance academy. The young girl was vibrant and delicate. He must have liked her quite a bit, as he hadn't replaced her for over half a year. The last time I saw him was a few days ago. It was a dramatic scene. A rear-end collision on the highway overpass. His car hit mine. He was probably planning to take Chloe to the beach. Chloe was wearing a floral dress and a wide-brimmed straw hat. She didn't recognize me and immediately apologized in a panic after getting out of the car. Oh, I'm so sorry. Older sister, it's my fault. In the car, I was trying to feed my boyfriend something, which distracted him. He has a sensitive stomach and left without eating this morning. She bit her cherry pink gloss lips, her fair, tender cheeks flushed with a healthy blush. The young woman was vibrant and lively, so beautiful that it was hard to look away. It's fine. I looked at Marcus and smiled at him. Next is our 10th anniversary. Let's have dinner together. Marcus's gaze remained calm, but Chloe's face instantly went pale. She looked at me, then pleadingly at him, her body naturally pressing closer to him, nestling against him protectively. Marcus, however, subtly pulled away. I'll take you back. No need, I have something to do. I won't delay your plans. Although the impact wasn't severe, the seatbelt had pressed against my stomach, and I was worried if the fetus was affected. Sitting back in my car, I was about to close the door when a man's hand stopped it. A shadow fell over me. Grace, don't you have anything you want to say to me? Marcus looked down at me. His eyes clouded. Say what? I said mockingly. Do you want to see me go crazy and beat up the other woman? I chuckled softly. Don't think of me as so naive. You've given me so much money, enough to buy your peace, and I hit the gas, got back on the road, turned the wheel, and changed lanes. After exiting the congested highway overpass, the road ahead became suddenly clear. I couldn't get pregnant in 5 years of marriage with Marcus. After changing the baby's father, getting pregnant suddenly became so simple. It seemed Marcus and I were fated to be apart, destined for different paths in life. Since I'd notified him in advance, Marcus arrived early, bringing a gift, a carefully selected ruby necklace, top-grade pigeon's blood red. In the 5 years we'd been separated, though we rarely met, his gifts to me never stopped, and he was always generous. From a worldly perspective, I hadn't lost out in this marriage. Let's get a divorce. After telling him I'd cheated and was pregnant with another man's baby, I produced the divorce papers. I didn't want any lingering complications, so I was very generous with the asset division. However, upon hearing I was willing to give up all my shares in his company, Marcus asked expressionlessly, "Is the baby Alex's?" Before I could answer, he sneered. "You'll divorce me, marry him, and have his baby? Then what? Are you so sure Alex won't cheat?" I remained silent, and Marcus's words grew sharper. "Do you really believe in stories of a reformed playboy? He's slept with far more women than I have. Aren't you afraid of getting sick?" Unlike the self-made Marcus, Alex came from a prominent wealthy family, a well-known playboy in their circle. Although he was frivolous and wild, his business acumen was unique. He was one of Marcus's earliest investors. The two were similar in age and gradually developed from a business relationship into close friends. Alex used to warmly call me Grace when we met. It had no shortage of admirers in the past, so I knew the look in his eyes wasn't innocent. So, when I wanted revenge back then, I sought him out. I don't know if it was because I slipped through his fingers, but Alex truly became interested in me. The baby wasn't Alex's, but I felt no need to explain to Marcus. "Marcus, you're not getting any younger. Didn't you also used to want a child?" After we divorced, I avoided his topic, gently urging him to consider the future, but pressed his lips together, his gaze fixed on my stomach. His dangerous gaze made my nerves instantly tense. "Grace, you will bear my child," he spoke slowly, word by word, his voice as cold as a knife. That year, Marcus was absolutely unwilling to divorce. He threatened and bribed my lawyer, preventing other lawyers in the industry from taking my case. even by unscrupulous means. He intended to maintain our broken marriage. Marcus, I don't want to make things ugly if you don't agree. I'll have to contact the media. Can we end this with dignity? But he still wouldn't budge. A heavy sense of weariness washed over me. I raised a hand to rub my forehead when he suddenly seized my wrist, his voice hoarse. Get rid of the baby, and I'll agree to anything you want. We won't divorce. From now on, we'll make this work. Marcus desperately wanted to convince me how unwise it would be to divorce and remarry. It would just be jumping from one bad situation into another. Men inherently possess a desire for conquest. If things become destable, they crave novelty. Marcus, pretending to consider my well-being, rationally analyzed men through his own perspective. Grace, you're too idealistic about marriage. Marcus, do you still love me? I still asked him this meaningless question, seeing he couldn't convince me. A glimmer of light appeared in Marcus's dark eyes when he heard the question. He was a confident, even arrogant man, of course. His abilities and charisma were enough to support his confidence, so he firmly believed I still loved him. But that conviction wavered when he learned I was pregnant. Yes, I do. He stared steadily at me. Grace, you are the only wife I acknowledge. My family. I wasn't too surprised by this answer. While he was in college, his parents died unexpectedly in a car accident. I accompanied him on a long train ride back to his hometown, stayed up all night with him at the funeral hall, and went with him to the police station to handle the household registration. From then on, he was the only one left on his family's household registration. I held his hand and told him then, he still had me. From now on, I would be his family. Marcus at that time seemed very calm, with almost no trace of sadness on his face. But late at night, he held me tightly, his actions far more intense than usual, again and again, tirelessly. As I drifted off to sleep from exhaustion, I vaguely heard him whisper, Grace, I only have you. So many years had passed, he had countless admirers. If he wanted, he would never be alone. You see, all these years, you've done very well without me. Marcus was about to speak, but I interrupted him. Do you remember a period 5 years ago when I disappeared? I had gone abroad then, turned off my phone, and was unreachable, so Marcus couldn't find me. Seeing how difficult he was, I had no choice but to play the emotion card. I actually went abroad for medical treatment. I had cancer and almost died. I pulled down my collar, revealing the surgical scar to him. That baby couldn't have been born anyway. During my prenatal checkup, a lump was found in my breast. Marcus's body trembled slightly, his voice strained. Back then, why didn't you tell me? Call my husband away from another woman's bed to care for me critically ill. Even a filial child won't stay by a sickbed forever. I didn't want to see you look at me with disdain. I didn't want Marcus to know, so I hid it from everyone. They only thought I went abroad to clear my head. But they didn't know I had walked through the gates of hell alone. I felt broken then, after the surgery. I was in a daze, collapsing onto the hospital bed like an empty shell, day after day. Marcus was like the tumor excised from my body. It hurt intensely at first, but the wound slowly healed. I didn't die, and I successfully broke my addiction to Marcus, no longer dependent on him, becoming mature and independent, just as he had always wished for me. That day, I walked out of the hospital. The weather was beautiful and sunny, with green trees lining the road, birds singing, and flowers fragrant. My attending physician smiled and congratulated me. My cancer hadn't recurred in 5 years and could clinically be considered cured. Although my marriage was tattered and torn, I felt a sense of completeness I'd never experienced before. I believed I could do it. At 36, I had a new lease on life. I loved children. That's why having this baby was truly difficult for me. I caressed my stomach and pleaded sincerely, Marcus, let's part ways amicably. I felt I would never understand men when I thought Marcus loved me deeply. He made me feel as though 1,000 arrows had pierced my heart. I thought that now, with things as they were, he would surely accept my divorce request, but he kept compromising. Then have the baby. I'll raise it as my own. Whatever you want, I'll give it to you. I sighed helplessly. Do you know, the doctor said the illness I had was mostly caused by prolonged emotional suppression and anxiety. Emotions subtly affect the body. Those negative emotions don't just disappear. Instead, they transform into invisible attacks on the body. Marcus's career was soaring. The gentle and humble young man he once was had changed without him realizing it. He spent more and more time on work, and we communicated less and less. The way others looked at us also changed. We used to be a perfect match, a picture-perfect couple. Gradually, I no longer measured up to him when we had disagreements, from small things like where to place objects to major ones like my career plans. It seemed I was expected to listen to him. If I didn't listen, I was just throwing a tantrum. Whenever I had an argument, I felt like I was suddenly pitted against everyone, even when he cheated and I wanted a divorce. My own parents didn't understand me. In their eyes, Marcus was such an accomplished and outstanding man. I should worship him like a god. He had simply made a common mistake. If only I learned to turn a blind eye, life could be perfectly comfortable. But I insisted on making a chaotic mess. What's more, after years of marriage without children, he never complained about me. The conclusion was that I was ungrateful for my blessings. I want happiness. Can you give it to me? As expected, upon hearing the word happiness, Marcus again showed the same helplessness as if looking at a naive child. Of course, I smiled slightly. I also want to experience the kind of pleasure in bed that you enjoy, with a partner who is service-oriented and prioritizes my feelings. Can you do that too? Marcus narrowed his eyes, as if I were throwing a tantrum. Of course, provided I'm willing. He probably recalled that night on the island and remained silent. From then on, we never had marital relations again. You see, you can't even give me that. Why is it shameful for an adult woman to pursue physical pleasure like a man? Once a man has wealth and status, why do a woman's perfectly natural demands in marriage like equality, companionship, and fidelity become unreasonable? We eventually parted on bad terms. What's going on with you and Marcus? Why did he send someone to follow me again? Alex called, asking leisurely. Back then, the two hadn't had a public falling out, friendly rivalry that turned malicious. Even knowing that Alex and I hadn't truly slept together, Marcus outwardly showed no signs, but meticulously plotted and severely screwed Alex over. Alex not only lost a large sum of money but also almost ended up in jail. After this ordeal, he didn't keep his distance from me. Instead, he showered me with attention, persistently trying to steal my affections. He persisted for 5 years. He was the one who told me about Marcus's new girlfriend. He was probably the last person in the world who wanted us to get back together. Probably because I'm pregnant, and he suspects you're the baby's father. Alex was silent for 5 seconds. Whose is it? None of your business. Realizing my tone was harsh, I changed the subject. Can you help me find a divorce lawyer? No problem then, Alex asked in a low, cool voice. Grace, I can help you. But tell me whose baby it is. I didn't understand why he, like Marcus, was so stubbornly determined to find out who the father was. But now, needing his help, I had to confess. It was IVF. The baby was part of my plan. I thought if the suspicion of infidelity was confirmed, he would definitely agree to a divorce. Alex blurted out, IVF? Why didn't you ask me for help? If I kicked the bucket, your baby could still inherit my estate, probably for eugenics reasons. I guess. I thought my phrasing was subtle, but Alex was clearly irritated. He scoffed, mocking me. You think I'm dirty? How clean is your husband, Marcus? Using the excuse of discussing legal matters, Alex knocked on my door, carrying several bags full of nutritional supplements and pregnancy supplies. See if there's anything else you need. Your belly isn't big yet, but accidents happen, so you should have someone to look after you. Or how about I have a cleaning person, a nanny, and a postpartum confinement nurse at home. Alex raised an eyebrow, teasing. Grace, do you really need to be so wary of me? If I had known you were like a fortress, I wouldn't have been so gentlemanly and let you go back then. Alex, we can't be together. He ignored my words, his gaze lightly falling on my lower abdomen. What if I became this baby's substitute father? Then why would I go to all the trouble to divorce Marcus? I was about to usher him out when a knock sounded at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Again and again, even though there was a doorbell. They didn't use it. Alex exchanged a glance with me, a playful smirk touching his lips. Don't tell me Marcus has come to catch you in the act, has he? Before I could respond, he walked to open the door with the air of a homeowner. Marcus was standing outside the door. Hey buddy, long time no see. In contrast to Alex's casual nonchalance, Marcus was expressionless, his sharp gaze like a needle piercing past him and directly at me. Grace, we are not divorced yet, the baby isn't his. I knew with Marcus's personality, he would demand an answer. The baby's father is younger than both of you, healthy, has no family history of genetic diseases, doesn't smoke or drink, has no bad habits, and is highly educated. He understands me. I feel very comfortable and at ease with him. Meeting's piercing gaze. I said seriously, He's truly a good person, Marcus said coldly. Good. He knows you're a married woman and have suffered a serious illness, yet disregards your health to coax you into having a baby, wanting to tie you down. Such a morally corrupt, low-character toy boy who only wants to be supported by a rich woman is good. Whether he's good or not isn't for you to judge. I can feel it for myself, I retorted. You say you love me, but if I can't feel that love, is it truly love? Alex slowly interjected from the side. Marcus, don't pretend you were so great to her. If you were, she wouldn't have wanted to get back at you by sleeping with me back then. My blindness in love and stubborn refusal to see, coupled with Alex stirring the pot, made Marcus leave with a sullen face. But as soon as he left, Alex asked, Grace, why do I get the feeling this guy you're talking about actually exists? With help, a lawyer finally took my case. During the divorce proceedings, Alex suddenly brought me some favorable information. Marcus's new girlfriend was pregnant, however. Before we could figure out how to use this information, Chloe was admitted to the hospital. The baby was gone, although there was no proof. It was very likely the accident was arranged by Marcus again. This wasn't the first time an outside woman had become pregnant with his child. Back then, when she heard I wanted a divorce, that woman secretly got pregnant, intending to use the child to climb the social ladder. Marcus didn't hesitate to tell her to get an abortion, but she absolutely refused. Then, she had a car accident. Although she was injured, the fetus was unharmed, and the woman escaped from the hospital in the middle of the night. Marcus used all channels, legal and otherwise, and searched high and low to find her. It's unclear if Marcus gave the order, but when she was pursued, the woman, in her panic, fell down the stairs. Her uterus was removed, and she almost died. It caused a huge stir at the time, almost becoming a scandal, and he put in great effort to suppress the news. So at that time, he didn't bother to look for me. He was afraid I'd make a scene later. We drifted further and further apart. Unexpectedly, he didn't want a baby back then, and even 5 years later, when he was no longer young, he still didn't. The first time I met Marcus, I knew he was ruthless and would achieve great things. Alex couldn't help but sigh. And he came to a conclusion. Grace, it seems he truly only wants her baby, and doesn't even care if it's his. Isn't that contradictory? He certainly seemed deeply devoted to me, yet it didn't stop him from sleeping with other women. Hey, then he probably won't have children in this lifetime. I hung up the phone, looked down, and caressed my now visibly protruding abdomen, my heart melting with tenderness. Baby, will you come back to mommy? The court's first hearing began. Marcus's top-tier lawyer, combined with his prepared, sincere statement, as expected, the judge did not grant the divorce. In the hallway, he stopped me. Grace, I found the hospital records. You lied to me again. I knew it. You never cared for Alex. There's been no man by your side all these years. Compared to our last meeting, Marcus looked unwell and very tired. If the baby is IVF, why didn't you use my sperm? The hospital still had my sperm stored. What do you think? I calmly retorted. Because I didn't want to, of course. The atmosphere froze, supporting my belly. I turned and left. Before the second hearing, I gave birth as an older mother, and having had a serious illness, the process was indeed somewhat perilous. Marcus and Alex waited outside the delivery room for most of the night. It was a girl. The newborn baby was tiny, red, and delicate. I held her close, watching her peaceful sleeping face, and a wave of happiness welled up within me. Someone knocked on the hospital room door. A young man in a white shirt and gray sweater, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, appeared refined and handsome, radiating a fresh, clean aura. He walked to the bedside, his gaze as calm as water, directed at the baby in my arms. Do you want to hold her? I smiled, looking at him. He hesitated. I knew he had severe germophobia. I was deliberately teasing him. Yes, I was surprised to see him take the baby. He held her so carefully, as if cradling a fragile treasure. Just then, Alex walked in. Ethan. Alex recognized him and greeted him. Ethan nodded. Alex was accustomed to his cold demeanor. Ethan was the youngest son of the Sue family. He was also my therapist. That year, after I returned to the country, though the surgery was successful, death felt like a sword hanging precariously over my head, swaying, trembling. Both physically and mentally, I was in an extremely weakened state. I was at rock bottom, then found a new path. I simultaneously recuperated my body and underwent therapy. I first sought out a highly renowned therapist in the field. He was about my father's age. Perhaps it was because he was highly experienced, but he always exuded a certain air of condescending scrutiny, judgment, and instruction. I felt as if I was facing another Marcus. Before, I had consulted several therapists, but I couldn't open up to any of them. Given status and my position as his wife, privacy was crucial. I didn't want the intimate details of our marriage to appear in gossip columns. Alex recommended Ethan to me. Ethan came from a prominent, wealthy family. By the time his family discovered his mother was abusing him due to postpartum depression, he already exhibited autistic tendencies. The little boy was indifferent to the outside world, silent and uncommunicative. After treatment, his condition improved. But his personality was already set. He wasn't interested in inheriting the family business. After graduating, he went abroad to study psychology. I was very satisfied with Ethan, a qualified listener. He quietly absorbed my negative emotions and incisively analyzed the problems between Marcus and me, conflicting worldviews, philosophies, and values. The conflicts are irreconcilable. For the sake of mental health, he suggested cutting ties. It was a moment of profound realization for me. Give me the baby. Alex held out his hand, but Ethan glanced at him without letting go. Alex, let Ethan hold her. Alex gave me a strange look, keenly picking up on something. Grace, do I know this baby's father? He was just short of asking if it was Ethan. I didn't blame him for suspecting. I said the man was self-disciplined, and both he and Marcus scoffed. But if it was Ethan, it would make sense. How much Chloe resembled her father, although the baby was just born. Her features vaguely resembled Ethan's. It's me, Ethan said calmly. I nodded. It's him. Alex looked at him, then at me, finally settling his gaze on the tiny infant in the swaddle, grinding his teeth slightly. Damn, I brought you two together back then, and I ended up doing someone else's work for them. We're not together. At the time, I truly spent a lot of effort persuading Ethan. Originally, he was my therapist, but I knew he had germophobia and social anxiety, making it difficult for him to form intimate relationships with the opposite sex. The healer cannot heal himself. He hadn't overcome his childhood trauma or forgotten the harm his mother inflicted on him as a child. I'll give birth to this baby, and we'll raise her together. In this process, you, as a parent, can try to reparent yourself. After meeting Ethan, I was even more grateful I hadn't given birth to that baby then. I couldn't be sure if, in that terrible mental state, I would have hated it. When a mother is emotionally unwell, the young child suffers the most. That baby's brief visit to this world seemed to be solely to save me. So after recovering from my illness, I desperately wanted a baby. I started believing in metaphysics, hoping it would come back to me. Of course, in choosing Ethan, I had a selfish motive. Considering the worst outcome, my cancer recurring, I trusted Ethan and believed he would do his best to take care of this child. As soon as Ethan placed the baby in my arms, Marcus quickly walked in. Is the baby his? Didn't you hear everything? I had just caught a glimpse of him standing outside the door, hidden in the shadows. You have therapy twice a week, so for these past 5 years, you two have been secretly hooking up right under my nose? Is the baby really IVF, or is it just a tactic to deceive me? Marcus completely lost his composure. Before I could speak, he swung his arm to punch. His hard knuckles violently struck Ethan's jaw. Ethan fell heavily to the ground. Marcus, he withdrew his hand, looked up at me, his eyes bloodshot at the corners, with a hint of glistening moisture. I told you from the start that I cheated, but you didn't believe me. Now you think I deliberately fabricated hospital records to deceive you? Isn't that a bit ridiculous of you? I'm not like you, able to separate emotion and physical intimacy. The baby is IVF, and Ethan and I are just friends. I gently patted the startled baby in my arm. I'd like to ask you to disappear from my life from now on, if you don't mind. In front of outsiders, we still ended up tearing each other apart. Hearing my words, Marcus's body trembled slightly. He lowered his head and turned away very slowly. Grace, please calm down first. We'll talk about this next time we meet. I had expected Marcus to continue to cling on, but unexpectedly, not long after, he suddenly agreed to the divorce. His lawyer redrafted the divorce papers. The assets would be split equally. The shares I intended to relinquish, he would also transfer to me in cash, a surprisingly vast sum. Alex's lawyer reviewed it, found no issues, and I signed it. We divorced quietly. Marcus went abroad. Overnight, he vanished from public view. 6 months later, Marcus's company changed CEOs. Alex said he bought an estate in New and seemed to plan on settling there permanently. I wasn't too surprised to hear this news. Over the past 6 months, I had continuously received packages from him, filling an entire room. They contained many organic and natural farm products. How could such an ambitious man just retreat to a pastoral life? Could it be that divorcing you hit him too hard? Alex was puzzled. Perhaps he's ill. Outsiders also speculated this, but no one had seen him. He didn't attend any gatherings or events now, I replied with little concern. I ended the call. I put on my ruby earrings in front of the mirror. The pigeon's blood-red ruby necklace Marcus gave me was too grand. Since I had no occasions to wear it, I asked a jeweler to transform it into earrings for me. No matter how expensive jewelry is, it's a true waste if it stays hidden in a box, never seeing the light of day. Ruby earrings paired with a little black dress, a simple touch of red lipstick, and I looked radiant without much effort, on the sofa. Ethan held the baby he had just rocked to sleep, casting an unreadable glance at me going out. Yes, a date, divorced, with a baby. I had no qualms about starting a new chapter in my romantic life. Life is a combination of many experiences. I didn't want to lie on my deathbed, recalling my romantic experiences in this life, only to find Marcus had dominated almost all of them. After all, the latter half of the experiences he gave me were quite unpleasant. This was also Ethan's advice, as my therapist, to love myself, to love others, to try bravely, and to form new intimate relationships. Ethan, thank you for taking care of the baby tonight. I smiled at him, waving my hand. Tomorrow, I'll drive, and we'll take the baby to the beach. Ethan disliked crowded places, so our outings focused on natural scenery, playing with leaves and sand with the baby. And the baby recognized Alex as her godfather. He loved lively places and enjoyed taking the baby to shopping malls and amusement parks, happily praising his goddaughter's intelligence and beauty to everyone he met. The two men's hobbies actually complemented each other. A year later, late at night, I received a phone call. Ms. Grace, I apologize for disturbing you so late, but Mr. Marcus, he just passed away. I froze. Mr. Marcus was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. All current medical treatments couldn't slow the progression of his illness. He was experiencing memory loss, and his periods of lucidity were becoming increasingly rare. I believe that's all for today's story. Thank you for listening. This is my channel. The tales I share drawn from life or woven from imagination are meant to offer you connection, reflection, and perhaps solace or newfound strength. If you long to see your own reflection in others' journeys, or seek a glimmer of light within the maze of emotions, subscribe to my channel. Listen with your heart. Explore the stories of life.